This video, I'm going to talk to you about Texas Hold'em poker and try to explain the basic rules for someone who has never played before. So Texas Hold'em is probably the most played type of poker, maybe because it's one of the most interesting variants strategy-wise. So the way Hold'em poker works, just as any type of poker, is that players play around a table and play a different sets of hands. And for each hand or deal, card deal, there's a pot or a sum of money in the center of the table, and one person at the end of the hand will get that sum of money, except in certain conditions where they actually split it, but we'll see that later on. So here's an example of a table. You could imagine so different people sitting around it. You see that everybody has two cards. So that's how Hold'em poker works. The dealer distributes two cards to each player. So as you may know, in poker, hands are constituted of 5 cards. So why are there only 2 cards in each hand? Well, what happens is that some cards, 5 cards actually, will be added at the center of the table. And everyone with its 2 cards will be able to create a hand with any of the 7 cards between the 5 cards on the table and the 2 cards in his hand. So you have your 2 cards in hand, and you look at what's on the table, and you try to figure out the best combination you can come up with those 7 cards. That combination of 5 cards will be your best hand, and that's what you'll be betting on. In Texas Hold'em poker, betting works and betting works clockwise. So there's a first person who has what we call the button. He's the dealer. He's the one who distributes the cards. And the person sitting to his left has a small blind. Has the small blind. We'll see what that means. And the one to his left again has the big blind. The small blind and the big blind are blind bets. They're bets that you have to bet just to stay in the game. So before you even look at your first cards, the dealer distributes the cards around the table. Everybody has 2 cards, and then the person next to him pays the small blind, and the person next to him again pays the big blind. Then everybody looks at his cards, and looking at your 2 cards, you already have an idea of what kind of game you'll be able to play. Say, for example, you have 2 aces. You know that you have a very, very strong hand. If you have a 2 and a 7, for example, you know that the odds that you'll have a good hand are very good. So you can already start betting without any cards, without any other cards. So there's a first round of betting. The betting goes around the table and until everybody's has betted the same thing. So it can turn around the table several times if people keep on raising their bets. Once everybody has paid the same amount, everybody's bet is added to the pot, the main pot at the center of the table, and the dealer distributes 3 cards in the middle of the table. Let's take a look here. For example, here we have 4 players. I took this image from Wikipedia. Bob, Carol, Ted, and Alice each have 2 cards. And what will happen first is that 3 cards will be added on the table. That's what we call the flop. So I'm just going to hide some of the cards so you can understand. So typically this would be happening at the flop. So after the first turn of betting. You have 3 cards on the middle of the table, and everybody has 2 cards. So you would decide, each would look at the 3 cards and think about what's the best combination he has. So Bob would say, okay, I actually have three fours. That's a pretty good hand. I have 3 fours, and I have an ace. So that's pretty good. Other things can come up, but I probably have a very strong hand. Carol has an ace, sorry, and a nine. Um, so she doesn't have anything yet for the moment, but she can imagine that some other cards will be coming up because two more cards will be added later. Ted has two kings. He had a very strong hand before the flop, and now he has an even stronger hand because he has three kings. So he knows that he's pretty well off. Alice has a 5 and a 6. So she knows that she can do 4, 5, 6. That's the beginning of a straight. So she might think she's a pretty good hand. So what happens once those three cards are in the middle of the table, everybody's looking at his three cards and his best combination. Another turn of betting happens. Starts with a person who is small blind. So he bets, and everybody around the table bets. Some people think they have a bad hand. They might say, okay, I'm not going to bet. I'm just going to go out and fold for this this deal. And everybody's going to bet until everybody has betted the same thing, and the things will be added to the pot. And then the fourth card will be added at the center of the table. So here, for example, the dealer would add an 8. And everybody would again look at his cards and think, okay, how has that changed my game? And should I keep on betting or not? The 8 here probably doesn't change much for anyone, except maybe for Alice, who knows that if the 7 comes up, she'll have 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, which is a straight. For the others, it doesn't really change anything. So again, another round of betting will happen, and at the end of that turn of betting, a fifth and last card will be added to the center of the table. Now, once that fifth card has been added, fifth and last card, everybody knows that it's basically the end of the game, and everybody is looking at his hand and wondering whether he or she has the best hand or not. In this case, we have Alice has a straight, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So she got pretty lucky. Ted has 3 kings. Bob has 3 fours. And Carol still has nothing. So here you see exactly what hands they have. Their hand basically is the best combination they can have with what's on the board. So Ted actually has a full house because he has 2 fours on the board and 3 kings. So now there's going to be a last betting round, and at the end of this betting round, if everybody bets, or if, for example, if 2 players are left and 2 players bet and they bet the same thing, then they'll show their cards, and the best card combination will win and win the pot. If they have exact ties, they might split the pot. And finally, if one person, for example, bets a lot, for example, in this case, Bob, who has a very Ted, who has a very good hand, we can imagine that he would be left alone with, for example, Alice, who has a straight. Ted might bet a lot because he thinks he has the best hand, and maybe Alice will think, okay, well, maybe I don't have the best hand, so it's just not even worth it to bet to know how much to know exactly what cards the person has. So what happens is that one person is going to bet a lot, and the other person is just going to fold. In that case, the person who betted a lot will not even show his cards and will win. That's why you can actually bluff at poker. So you can bet a lot as a signal to other players saying, look, I'm betting a lot because I have a great game. And the people will have to pay basically to see your cards. So if you manage to make them believe that you have a good game, maybe they won't pay you, and then you'll be able to win the game without showing your cards, so potentially with a bad hand. So here you go. I hope you understand now a little more how to play Texas Hold'em poker. And well, I think I'll be publishing more of those videos. So see you soon.